guys, today we're going to be learning how to start an FPV cheaply and easily. So, I ordered all my parts from RDQ. It's super easy, they make it really nice, and they have quick shipping and free shipping over $100, which if you're starting out by buying a full quad remote and goggles, you should have no problem getting over $100. And this is the way that I did it. You guys can either follow along or not. So I'm going to do just unboxing of the package I got from RDQ. So they gave me a free battery strap, and I also ordered 5 sets of props from GemFan. They're about $2 a set, and there are 4 of them. I would definitely order 5 or more because even on my first flight, they're already starting to show signs of wear. I went through about 4 batteries, and they're a little bit chipping at the edges, so I think those will go through pretty fast. Generally, you want to stick with some brands that you recognize or will have an ecosystem. So I stuck with either Foxeer or Flywoo. So you can do anything. Let's see. So I got the Grinderino frame. I know it's a bit expensive at $45 depending on what you buy from it, but it is so durable. I have run this thing right into a tree, right into a wall, and it come out with just a scratch. It's super thick carbon, and I'll show you this later in the video, but it is just indestructible. And then just a couple other assorted things. I got an antenna from Flywoo, the Atomic. It's for my VTX. I do have a little bit of problems installing that, though a zip tie will fix that. And one thing I will say that I did not do is get an upgrade for my VRO3 antennas. That is one of the first things I recommend, because the antenna's not great. And then at the end, I'll also share my experiences and what I could have done better, and how you can do better than I did. Now, I had several people help me with this, whether it be my friend Jacob or Big J FPV, and also some videos by the GOAT, Joshua Bardwell. He taught me everything I know. And then it's just a matter of watching enough YouTube videos on how to solder. I have soldered before though, so I'm not a newbie. And then otherwise, it should be pretty simple. I'll just let you guys enjoy this unboxing experience. So now we're going to be looking at the charger I purchased. I would definitely recommend getting a good LiPo charger. It will help you not burn your house down and will give you a lot better results for battery lifespan. I got one from ISDT. They're a great brand. That and iMars are the 2 brands that I found to be pretty reputable. I got a $60 charger, but there's also a $30 charger that I would highly recommend. I believe it's the 608 PD, so it uses a USB power supply, and you can charge just the same as this. It's got a screen, it can charge 1 through 6S batteries. So I'm just going to show you what comes in the package. You've got a manual, you also have a cable that goes into your wall, and then you have the actual charger. It has a detachable power supply, so you can also power it with a LiPo at the field. And then inside that, there's 4 rubber feet and a screen protector. Don't mind my shoddy screen protector replacement. You'll see it later. It's whatever. But it comes in a nice package, and I would certainly recommend this charger if you're willing to spend a bit more. If not, go for the 608 PD. This is the 608 AC. It plugs directly into your wall, whereas the other one you'll need a USB-C power supply. I would just use a laptop charger, or if not, there's some cheaper ones you can find online. You could even use a phone charger if you have that. It would just be a bit slower. Some of the things I like about this charger, though, are the knob is super easy to control. The screen's so bright so you can see it even in direct sunlight, and it's pretty easy to get the balance plugs into the balance port. I've had a couple issues with my friend's charger. He has the D6 HobbyMate Pro. It's really expensive. I would probably not recommend that for a beginner unless you have a lot of money to spend, and this is not what that video is about. But it fits in really nicely. That's a detachable power supply, so you can plug a LiPo right into that. If you have done RC cars before and have some maybe big 6S or 4S packs, they can charge all your batteries at the field if you want. This charges batteries in about 30 to 60 minutes depending on what amperage you use. Word of advice, the way you're supposed to find out what amps you're charging is, take the milliamp hours and divide it by 1,000. So say you have 1,300 milliamp hour packs like me, charge at 1.3 amps. Say you have 650 milliamp hour packs, charge it at 0.65 amps. Okay? You'll need that later. That will keep the lifespan of the battery, and it will also charge in quick enough time that's not too slow. Battery for scale. Okay, so next onto the goggles. I would highly recommend these goggles after using it, but you will need an antenna upgrade. The stock antenna is not great. Luckily, antennas are pretty cheap, $10 to $15, but for this price point, you get DVR and a great screen. The screen is bright, the interface is intuitive, and generally, these goggles are just super comfortable to wear. The foam's super nice, the battery strap is nice and stretchy. But I will also have a full in-depth review video down below, and I will, at the end, show you some of the DVR footage. I ended up having to borrow my friend's antenna from his DJI goggles because the stock antenna was so bad and I was not able to see. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I was able to see at close distances. For a tiny whoop or a toothpick that you plan on flying inside, fine. But for me, I was flying out in a big open field with some obstacles because we were sitting in a concrete dugout. But generally, it charges via USB-C. That is so nice. All my charging cables now are USB-C, including my radio, which I'll touch on next. And then it also only has 4 buttons. And the nice slider switch is a good way to turn it on. You don't have to fiddle with any buttons. But generally, I would highly recommend this goggles, and then get an antenna upgrade. Great starter goggles, though. The price of only $70 is super nice for this. Next, onto my radio. This is the best purchase I've ever made. If you want to get into FPV, buy this a month or 2 earlier so you can practice on the sim. I recommend Uncrashed and FPV Skydive. FPV Skydive is free, and Uncrashed is the best paid sim I've tried. I've only ever tried Liftoff as well. Liftoff's a bit more expensive, it's about double the price of Uncrashed, and there are a couple of other features, but I don't see them as worth it. That's up to you to decide, but try the sim. You will see if you like FPV or not. It is so crucial, and the Pocket, for $70, is a great radio that you can use for sim, and then once you get your first quad, it is still spectacular to use. I use it on my quad. I have friends who use it on theirs. It is so nice. It just uses 2 18650 batteries. You gotta purchase them separately, or if you get them from Radio Master, you can get a bundle. The sticks store in the back, and the antenna folds down, so you can just throw it in a backpack, and you know it'll come out the other side just fine. It's got a module bay if you wanted to add Crossfire, Free Sky. Don't know why it would add Free Sky, but if you want to add it, it's there. It fits nano modules, and here's a word of advice. If you do get it, the sticks, screw them in tightly. You don't want to be fiddling with them when you are flying. They come loose, just don't have that happen to you. This is the best frame. It is so durable, and it is so clean looking. It is also so easy to build with. It was probably the easiest thing I've ever built. It's just a couple screws, and then your stack goes into the middle. The carbon fiber steel is so thick that you could probably run this full speed into a brick wall, and it'd only be your props that break. This thing looks like it could withstand a hydraulic press. Exaggeration, obviously, but it is sturdy. It also comes with grip, which is really helpful for keeping your battery on. I think that this frame is good for any beginner because you will crash, and you will crash a lot. I speak from experience. You don't want to have to be making repairs. As a beginner, that is just not very budget friendly, because you'll be spending more money, and plus having to make repairs are just a hassle, and as a beginner that might turn you off. So get a nice durable frame. It's worth the extra cost, I promise. Up next, we have our stack. This is one of the cheapest stacks that you can get. It's a 20 by 20 stack, so it fits perfectly into our frame, and it's generally really nice. The pads are big enough to solder on, and it's got a decent amount of UARTs for this price. UARTs are connectivity lanes, essentially. It's a bit more complicated than that, but there's other videos you can find about that. If you really care enough, look those up. But this frame is super well packaged. It comes with mounting hardware for both M3 and M4. It comes with an XT30 connector and a capacitor. It comes with a capacitor, so no need to buy an extra one. And the XT30 connector, I use XT60, so I bought another one, but you could totally use XT30 next to the motors. So now we got the motors. These motors look so good. They're also one of the cheaper motors. These are a bit underpowered for a 300 gram quad, but if you get lighter batteries, they're perfectly fine. I got 1300 milliamp hour batteries, which in turn gives me about 5.5 minutes of flight time. Of course, this is cruising around because I'm still a beginner, but it's still good. These motors come with mounting screws, and this blue color. Come on, just look at this. When I show you this blue color, it is so cool. I love this color. And I think the motor wires are long enough to do any sort of routing pattern you want to do. These motors are 1404 Zing 2 motors. They are pretty powerful, but if you do want to upgrade anything to this quad, this would be the first thing I do. Next to the time lapse. So this is my quad. I'm just going to give you a simple overview. If you pick all my parts, this is what it should look like when you're finished. You've got grip, RDQ battery strap, XT60 connector. In the back, with double-sided sticky tape, you've got the VTX and the ELRS receiver. And on the front, you've got the beautiful looking Foxeer camera. I love this camera. It looks so nice. And then you've got the Speedy B stack and those GemFam purple props. They look super nice. And then, if you must know, this is my soldering equipment. I've just got an $8 roll of solder from Amazon with a 3D printed spool holder. And then the soldering iron. I would recommend this to anybody starting out. It's the Pine Sol. It's similar to the TS01 soldering irons that you can find. They're portable, it uses USB-C, and it's got a nice display and a detachable tip. See USB-C. Or barrel jack if you have that. Now, we're going to see my first flight with this. I will say, it's not really my first flight, but it's the first good flight. We did a couple test flights, and then I had to take the antenna from my friend, because it was not very good. One thing is definitely increase the power of your VTX. I had it set for 25 originally, and it was not enough, and the signal was breaking up a bunch, even in this wide open field. We're sitting in the dugout, so you may get a little interference from the concrete. And if you can tell, I'm a bit more comfortable because I've flown quads before. I've flown my friend's 5-inch at Big J FPV, and then I've also flown a ton on the sim. So I'm just going to let you enjoy this 5-minute first flight. This is the battery. This is all one pack, and you can slowly see in the left the voltage. I would take your voltage all the way down to about 3.6, and then charge it back up to 4.2. That's generally the range that LiPos operate in. you're finishing up watching this flight, I'm going to talk about the conclusion. This is how I started cheaply in FPV. All around costs about $360 if you don't buy the expensive charger I bought. It costed about $400 for me. But as you can see, this is generally pretty decent, and in the description I'll link all the parts video. I also have a couple more videos, a link of me flying it, and other reviews of my products, but this is how I would do it. I chose these parts because they're the best value. You can find cheaper out there, but your experience will not be nearly as good. These parts were all chosen for certain aspects. The Foxeer camera was chosen because it has good image quality. The frame was chosen because it's super durable. The VTX was chosen because it can go to a high power and comes from Foxeer, a reliable brand. And then the ELRS receiver was chosen because it was one of the cheaper ones that came with an antenna. And then these motors, I chose them because they're cheap, they looked cool, and will give me a good cruising experience. My goggles were chosen because they're the cheapest with DVR. The Pocket was chosen because it's just the best radio out there, hands down, for under $100. And then, among the other things, CNHL batteries are generally regarded as the best budget brand. I chose the 1300 milliamp hour batteries because the 850 milliamp hour batteries were out of stock. That's the thing, you'll learn a lot of things are out of stock. And in the comments, give me your questions. I'll respond as soon as I can within a day or two. And if something's out of stock and you want me to find a reputable replacement for you, I will do that. Just ask me. I try to be very active and supportive of my community. And thank you guys all so much for watching this and making it to the end. This means the world to me because this is my life and this is my hobby. I love it so much, and thank you all.